Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening to the Taste of Transformation podcast. If you like what you hear, please share with your friends and family, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and all podcast platforms at Taste of Transformation for more episodes like this. If you'd like to be a guest on our podcast or know of someone who would be a good guest, please reach out to us at tasteoftransformation@gmail.com. Enjoy this episode. Hi, I'm Charles Lewis, and welcome to Taste of Transformation. Our show interviews individuals impacted by the criminal legal system who have successfully changed their lives. During the show, they share their stories of challenges and triumphs, discuss their transformative journeys, and provide insight to others on how to achieve this transformation. And we have these discussions over some of our favorite prison meals. My guest today is Ernest Henry. He is the co-host of Voices Beyond the Wall. He's a local business owner of multiple companies, and he is now newly elected Common Counsel of the First Ward in Poughkeepsie. Mr. Ernest Henry.
Well,
welcome.
Thank you guys for having me. It's an honor to be here. I think that what you guys are doing for people who have taken a journey through the criminal justice system and who have made a choice, because that's exactly what it is, who have made a choice to become better people as opposed to staying into the traps that they found themselves in when they came to prison. So thank you for allowing me to come in, and thank you for creating this forum for other men and women to do the same thing.
And thank you for being here. So before we get into our conversations, let's start with the food that we have in front of us.
Yes.
So I gave you a call, asked you to come in on a show, and asked what was the one meal that you would like to have, and you was like, "What?"
that shouldn't even be a question, right? Yeah, that shouldn't even be a question for somebody that's been in, particularly from the 80s on down, or on up rather. Jack Mac seems to be that meal that everybody can appreciate, and everybody knows how to make. It's just that you got to be at a certain level to make it to this point right here.
Yeah. So I'm going to explain to the audience what we have on our plates. So we have I fried the Jack Mac in 3 different batters. Okay, there's the nacho cheese Doritos. There's a spicy sweet chili Doritos.
Okay,
and then there's the saltine crackers.
Okay,
batter. Then we also have chips. It's the whole shebang.
Right.
So. For those of you who know about the whole shebang, it's a delicacy in certain prisons. Mr. Henry didn't know about it.
Yeah.
So we're going to give it a taste, give everything a taste right now. And then we'll get the interview started. Let's go in with the Jack Mac. Let me know what you think.
Let's see. It's crunchy. Yeah. The texture is perfect. Delicious.
I'm trying not to chew in the mic, but it is really good.
Well, I hate to say it, but I'm glad to say it in the same sentence, just like back in the day.
Yeah. So one of the things we talk about is the importance of sharing meals in prison. And how we didn't just eat with just anyone. Right. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, first of all, you didn't eat with just anybody. You ate with somebody that you had some camaraderie with. And with me, it was a brother named Zay Rashid. He liked to cook. He was from Guyana. I get the fish and all the stuff. He'd cook. And then I would wash the dishes. That was our thing. And when we did have large meals, like on Thanksgiving or on Christmas, we made a big enough meal so that we could share with somebody who didn't have somebody coming up who wasn't as fortunate as we were. We understood that we were fortunate, And, we ate all the time. We cooked our own meals because we were in a unit that allowed us to do that. But we also understood that it was important for us to give back. He was Muslim. I was in the 5% Nation. So that was something that we felt was necessary.
Yeah. It was the same with me. I used to cook with Michael Love and Cameron. Mm-hmm. And when we was just, it was the same. Like, whoever cooked, the others would
wash the dishes.
Will wash the dishes. Mm-hmm. And it was an understood rule, and it was a rule that was respected.
Right.
It was respected.
No questions
There was
asked,
no questions asked at all. And there was sometimes it would be like, yo, what you cooking today? Because don't cook nothing big, because I'm not trying to do a whole bunch of dishes.
Right.
And you even, as a cook, you had to respect that. You know what I mean? Like, yo, all right, cool. I just make something simple so you can only wash 2 pots.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
So let's try the whole shebang.
Right, yeah, because I never tried these before.
Tell me what you think about these. So for the guests who don't know, for the listeners who don't know, so the whole shebang is basically every seasoning, like onion and garlic, barbecue, salt and vinegar on one chip. And
so that's why they call it the whole shebang.
Yes, they call it the whole shebang. And it was one of those, it was sought after by people who came home. And I don't know when, but I think within like past couple of years, the whole shebang started selling this to the public.
Okay.
Before, it was strictly sold to prison.
To prisons.
Mm-hmm. And so, still got to get used to it sometimes. It has like everything on it, like
the
vinegar.
It's good. I never heard of them. I never tasted them, but they're pretty good. I could see why they were popular inside.
How many years did you do inside?
I did exactly 24 consecutive years in prison.
24 years in prison.
I was originally sentenced to 20 years to life. I got denied at approximately 2 parole boards, and I made my 3rd parole board.
And now you are the First Ward Community Council in Poughkeepsie.
Yeah. Yep.
Talk to us about that journey.
It's just like everything else in my life since I've been home. I look at it as I'm walking down this path called life, and occasionally some angels come to me and they say, okay, Ernest, this is the path here you're supposed to be going on. So in this particular situation, I wanted to help my community in the democratic process. I wanted to help candidates who were running for positions in Poughkeepsie to get their positions. So one of the things you had to do was you had to sign up for the Democratic Committee, and then you had to go around, knock on doors to get people to sign petitions and stuff like that. So one of the community leaders, her name was Miss Lorraine Johnson, beautiful person. She said, you got to go and you got to see Ann Finney. And I said, okay, she's a person that I needed to get involved with the Democratic Committee. I had to go and have an interview with Ann. So we talked. I told her about some of the ventures that I wanted to do. I told her about me being incarcerated and what I was doing. And she was interested in my story and interested in helping me. So I said, Ann, how about we meet every week, and then we could discuss how, the landscape of Poughkeepsie and some of the things that I need to do to make myself aware so that I could reach this goal. And after a couple of conversations, she said, oh, you live in the First Ward? I said, yes, I do. She said, would you like to run for city council? And I said, sure. I said, that would be something that I would be interested in doing because I'm very interested in helping my community. And from there, she showed me the roadmap. I won the primary election, which is an election that determines who's going to be the Democratic representative for a particular station. And in this case, it was who was going to be the Common Council Democratic representative. And there was an incumbent, and there was somebody who was a Common Council representative years prior. And to be perfectly honest, I didn't think that I was going to win this. But I campaigned. I put out a palm card. Put out a palm card with my picture on it and some of the things that I've done in the community and my educational credentials. And I won. I won the primary by 6 votes. It was a narrow win. And then after that, I went on to the general election. And it just so happened that the incumbent who lost out, she decided that she was going to run a smear campaign. So she started putting on her Facebook that I was a convicted felon, that I had committed murder, and she put a whole lot of things that weren't true out on her Facebook. And then she eventually made her own palm card with my picture on it and a graphic description of my crime, and she started passing it around the neighborhood and the community, and in particular the first ward. And she really, she really went after me. But one of the things that I realized from that experience was that you got to own your stuff. You know, it was like when she started putting the description of my crime and that I was a convicted felon, you know, I thought about it and I was like, okay, is she doing something wrong? And then I said, the purpose of what she's doing is wrong, but the fact that she's telling people about me, I can't really fault her for that because those are the things that I did. And that experience really made me realize that it's so very important to own everything that you do, good, bad, or indifference. You have to own it because I realized from that experience, if you don't own it, then that owns you. And what I realized is that there was so many people who are good people who have gone to prison and have changed their lives, and they're doing tremendous things in the community, but they won't allow the community to know who they are because they don't want to face that raft. And I think that that's such an unfortunate thing because as long as people who have gone to prison and who have changed their lives are living in obscurity, then the rest of the people have no idea what real redemption and transformation actually is.
Right.
So that's what I learned in that experience there. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be long-winded.
No. You weren't.
That was the experience. And so last Tuesday, November 7th, was the general elections. And I won by an overwhelming margin. There were 274 votes for me. And this particular candidate who ran a smear campaign against me, and she also ran a write-in campaign, which is that she tried to urge voters to just write her name in and have her be reelected. There were only 21 votes for her. So I was worried. I was worried because I believe that people are fickle in some cases with certain things. And the way that she came at me, she made me look like I was like the guy that I was 40 years ago.
Right.
And I'm not that guy anymore. And
what kept you? So when she was running that smear campaign, you stayed positive.
I stayed positive.
Why? Because in politics, a lot of times you see the back and forth.
I stayed positive because I had to own what I had done. I couldn't get mad at her because she said Ernest Henry murdered Kathleen Reed 40 years ago. I couldn't get mad at her for that because it happened. But what kept me going is because I knew who I was then, who I am now, That's what kept me going.
Yeah.
Because I think that when you go through the criminal justice system, it's two ways that you get stuck. The first way that you get stuck when you commit a crime and you go through the criminal justice system is you get stuck by the thought that you have when you commit that crime, the thought that you have, the person that you was, the motivating factors that made you go so far outside the norm that you committed a crime. You could get stuck there. You could say that, okay, I did that. Now that I did that, that's who I am. That's what I am. That's one way of being stuck. The other way of being stuck is to allow other people to say, because you did that, that's who you are. And I think that it's important for us as individuals not to get stuck.
What did you do to not get stuck in that, to change your thought process about, like, because like you said, it's so easy to commit a crime, especially if it's what is considered to be a horrendous crime, and then get stuck on, you know what, I did this, that's who I am as a person.
Right.
And then you continue to live that way.
Right.
There has to be something that changes on the inside.
Well,
what was that for you?
The change that occurred, it didn't happen several months ago when in October when this particular person ran a smear campaign. This happened 30 some odd years ago when I first came into the penitentiary, and I got exposed to people who believed in my humanity. So the way I responded to that is based all the way back to me encountering people like the facilitators, the Quakers that came into Sing Sing Correctional Facility in 1980. I mean, in the 1990s, that taught conflict resolution. It went back to those people who got together and put together Hudson Link and offered me a college or offered me the opportunity to complete my college education. It was about my family who stayed and supported me. All of that was about the nourishment, the support that I got from the time that I went in to the time that I got out. The people who showed me that my humanity, that I was more than what I had done. Those were the things that made me respond the way that I did in October, because it was a path of my transformation. And that path of my transformation had everything to do with the people that I met through my journey, because they changed my way of thinking. They taught me to think in a different way. They taught me not to react, to think about things, to own your actions, to be responsible for who you are and what you do. So those are the reasons why I reacted that way.
So do you feel like prior to being incarcerated, do you feel as if you weren't getting that nourishment, and then you weren't taking responsibility for your actions?
I just think I was a different person then. I just think that I came from a household where my father, he went to Vietnam, and when he went to Vietnam, when I was around about 6 years old, my mother found out that he had children on the other side of town, and they got divorced. And my mother and my grandmother, they raised me. And I didn't have a male figure in my life. I didn't have somebody there to say, listen, there's principles, morals, and things that you need to do, Ernest, so that you could become a man. I didn't have any of those things, and I don't say that was the contributing factor, but I think that it was a factor.
Absolutely.
That I didn't have a strong male figure to give me the mental, emotional, and spiritual tools that were needed for me to be better, for me to make better decisions prior to 22 years old when I committed this crime. And I think that when I came to prison, I was exposed to strong men who had principles, who taught me like, yo, this is not where you want to be, man. What you need to do is get up in that school building and go to class, go to culture class. Like I said, I was literally brought up in the Nation of Islam. And back in the 80s, it was rough. If you weren't adhering to the discipline of the Nation of Islam, you got hurt.
Yeah.
So I came up really in a disciplined environment with disciplined rules. And that's what I think a lot of young men need so that they could develop.
I agree. So interesting. So this is the first time that we're meeting like face to face.
Right.
I've called in on your show a few times, but I was incarcerated at 25 for attempted murder.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got inside and I reflected on why I committed my crime, how I came in, one of the things that stood out to me was similar situation. I didn't have a male role model. And not to like my dad's fault. I didn't meet my dad until I was 25, but I was already doing what I was doing. And my mother did the best that she could, but she was also a female. She was a woman trying to raise a man. But so much that a woman can show a man how to be a man because they're not men. And on the inside, I'm surrounded by nothing but men, other than like the female CLs, right? So I'm surrounded by nothing but men, and I'm surrounded by men who have changed their lives and were living a life based off of principles, ethics, morals, and were able to serve as examples. So I'm actually seeing with my eyes, how a man behaves, how a man reacts to situations. And being surrounded by nothing but men, it really changed my life. I'm not saying that going to prison is a good thing. I'm not saying that going to prison will change your life. No. But the importance of males having male role models to set the example and to follow, like, period. That helped me out tremendously. And I don't think the media speaks to that as much as they should, that there are a lot more good men in prison who have turned their lives around, who have changed, who are doing the best that they possibly can do, who will be great citizens when they come out. They are on the inside. It's not just slashings. It's not just rapes. It's not just those things do happen, yes, but there's an opposite side of the spectrum, that there are great men on the inside who are role models.
Exactly.
Michael Love, I call him now, he's like my spiritual father. He married me. Our relationship started on the inside as friends, and then it grew into a father-son type of relationship. And he set an example. I was able to physically see, this is how a man should behave. Right. And so I totally get it. It's not having a male role model in my life wasn't the cause, but it was a cause. Exactly. It was a cause.
Exactly.
So now that you're in office.
Technically, January 1st.
January 1st.
2024, I'll be in office.
You'll be in office. On your website, I saw that you have 6 goals. And one of them, you're passionate about the youth. Let's talk about that. I want to give you the opportunity to speak about.
Yeah, in Poughkeepsie, I've noticed that in the Poughkeepsie High School, there's a lot of strife, some gang activity, and I know that there are some men in the community that are doing things like sports and keeping the kids active after school is very important. But I think that like most other things, we need to start here. I mean, the physical is something that we always got to keep in mind, and that's something that attracts the youth because the youth are young, they got a lot of energy and they want to exert it. So physical sports is something that really attracts them. But I also believe that it's very important to help our children to start thinking about other things, thinking outside the box, experiencing different things. One of the things that I want to do in my community in Poughkeepsie is to establish some type of place where the youth, the young men can go to, young boys, 9 to 15 or whatever the case may be. That group where they start to really think about what they want to do and what their options are. I want to be able to have something for them. And I have a community center right up the street from where I live, and that community center has been not really operating as a community center could. It's in a public housing. Public housing is called Thurgood Marshall. I've spoken to the residents there, and I have a plan to make that community center an active hub in my ward, which means that I want to bring people who can teach the community things to go to that community center and make their instructions available to the community. But I also want to have something for the young men there. There's a lot of groups in Poughkeepsie that are doing various things for the young men. What I want to do is I want to consolidate those efforts and put them in the community center so that the young men could come there every day, 5 days a week. You can come there and get something. You come there and get some philosophy. You can come there and learn how to rap. You can come there and learn how to write. I want to expose them to the things that they're not being taught in school that could be practically used on the outside and that could expand their mind. Because I believe that when you're young, if you only see things from a narrow point of view, that's all you're going to work with. I believe that we need to have these young men see the whole world and let them know how many opportunities and let them know, listen, man, you come from a great lineage. I think that a lot of our young black men, they don't understand that they are descendants of kings. And we got to let them know that. That was one of the things that really changed my thinking, because I went to Cheney State College, which is Cheney State University, when I graduated high school. It's an all-black college. And I always say this, I learned more about my black history when I was in the penitentiary than I did when I was in an all-black college. Mind you, I wasn't a good student in college, but I was there.
Right.
I should have learned something, but I learned a tremendous amount of black history when I was in the penitentiary, and I really think that affected my journey in my self-development in the long run, because I understood that I wasn't just some black guy that was a descendant of a slave,
right,
or some slaves. My picture was bigger than that.
Right.
And I think that it's important to let these young men know that as well.
Before they get to college, because like your eyes are open in college, but it's like, well, what happens before then?
Exactly.
So you said that there are some things that you would like for the community center to give to the young men that they're not getting in school. If it's not too early, what are some of those things, specific things?
Well, they have a band. They have like a marching band. A gentleman does a marching band there. There's a gentleman who teaches Taekwondo. All of these things that require discipline, concentration, focus. I want to bring those things there. I want to bring black poets there. I want to bring people who can teach people how to buy and sell homes, how to become a real estate agent.
Okay.
All of these things that you would never think about, and they're not going to tell you in school,
right,
but they're available to you. All you have to do is know that they exist and know where to start your path in finding your way through these things.
Why is it so important for you?
It's important to me because that is how I give back. That's how I get up every morning and I could say, yeah, I'm Ernest Henry. I did all of the things that everybody said that I did, but this is what I'm doing now. That's why it's important to me, because I believe that if you commit a crime, I believe that it's one thing to allow the state to put you through the criminal justice system, lock you up for a couple of years, and then bring you out. But if you personally understand the magnitude of what you did for the crime that you committed, then you understand that there's more for you to do personally. And I believe that redemption, active redemption is the way to go. Because every time that I go out there and I do something that touches somebody's lives or touches somebody's life, then I could feel like, everything that happened, the life that I took, the 24 years that I spent in prison, the anguish, the everything that I put my family through would be worth it, because now I'm giving back to life. It's not just that all of this stuff happened, all of this tragedy occurred, and more tragedy is being promoted. All of this tragedy occurred, but now good is coming from it. That's why it's so important to me.
So prior to the interview, we were talking, and I said the quote, "Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind."
Right.
Speak to that. Why is the mind so important? And if you can, I know you can, please speak to the importance of understanding that if you transform your mind, you transform your life, and that you can have and be whatever it is that you want to be.
Right. Because the mind controls everything. What you think, who you think you are is who you will be. What you think that you can do will be what you will do. Henry Ford said, the man who thinks he can and the man who thinks he can't are both right. Which one are you?
Right.
And that's such a powerful quote to me, because it epitomizes the question that you asked. We are what we think. And if we think that we are a scoundrel, if we think that we're no good, if we think that we'll never be anything, then we will act out those attributes. We will be those things.
Right.
But if we believe, if we think that we can become better, that we can transcend our situation, that we could work hard to become better than what we used to be, then we will be. Because the mind is the most powerful thing that we as humans have. We are of the animal planet. The only thing that distinguishes us from the animal is our ability to think.
Yes.
And in that ability to think, we have this really precious thing that most people don't think about. And that precious thing is the ability to make a decision, the ability to be or not to be, the ability to be good or the ability to be bad, the ability to stay the same or the ability to change. We have that. That's our power. Nobody could take that from us. You can't lock us up in a cell and take that from us.
Right.
You could take our liberty from us, but the way we think can't take that from us.
Right.
And that's our power, but it's so simple yet so complex, and most people don't understand that power exists in us, and we could just touch it anytime we want to.
Yeah, I agree. Tying it back into the youth, when I think about, I don't know, might get shot down for this, but it's cool. Rappers and the portrayal of like, yo, I'm a thug. And when they rap about what it is to be a thug, and then they live according to that. And I think about the youth who watch the videos, who listen to these songs, and they take on that mind frame and they become that rapper, or they start to act like that gangster rapper. And if they would just shift their thinking to taking on the mind frame of the doctor or the lawyer or the school teacher or the entrepreneur or whatever it is that they want to be, and take on that thinking, they can actually become that, because that's what it is that they're thinking about. And like you said, it's so simple. But I think it's because it's so simple, that's what makes it so difficult for people to understand.
Right.
Why do you think that is?
Well, with the rap industry, I think that the rap industry is a double-sided sword. I think that one of the good things, one of the most magnificent things about the rap industry, it gave Black people the opportunity to put a chokehold on the industry that we would have never had the opportunity to hold down.
Especially come up financially.
Right.
Yeah.
The second part is that it made a tremendous amount of millionaires, right? Black millionaires, with the ability to do something. I think that just like everything else, we're in phases. And I think that the negative, the gangster rap was a phase that the people who actually controlled the industry, they allowed that to be the norm because they understand the power of words. So there's still this underlining part of society that's subliminally keeping Black people down, because I remember Chuck D and Public Enemy and all these other positive rappers, Melly Mel with The Message. I remember that. But I also remember how they came and they just got swept under the rug, and then something else was promoted. It had to be a reason why that happened, because I would buy everything that Public Enemy had and a whole lot of other positive rappers, but they just didn't stay up there. It's a reason why. And we are always fighting this systemic issue that's keeping people down. But one of the things that we need to understand, this is not just a black and white thing anymore. This is a class thing. And that's one of the things that I really want to put out there, that when we start talking about, well, Black people and white people, we are really separating ourselves, because there's white people just like there's Black people that's in the same economic and social situation as any Black people, Blacks and whites. So we find ourselves, if you go to the right places, we're in the same economic and social situation that we don't want to be in. So it's really a class thing. And until we understand that the fight is about a class thing, then we're never going to get together and change anything. But regards to this negative rap, I think that I'm hoping that at some point in the rap industry, we realize the damage that we're doing by promoting that type of thinking, because that's what it boils down to. It boils down to, we are promoting a type of thinking that's detrimental to our young people.
Yeah.
When we put those words out, when we put those notions out, when we put those acts out, we are destroying our people. But I think that it got to a point where, okay, we making money, I don't care. I'm just gonna put it out there because that's what they want. But we got to start having some morals and principles about what we do. One of the things that made Sidney Poitier and Denzel Washington great actors is because they would never take roles that would make black men look despicable. And these are the things that's called principles. And if we don't operate with principles, then we allow anything to happen. That's why it's so important that we have morals and principles and guidelines that we direct that we walk our lives through. And if we don't, then anything could happen. And that's what's happening in the rap industry. Anything is happening. But I think that after a while, there's enough black men, conscious black men, to say, listen, we got to change this up. And when it changes up, it's going to be phenomenal, because they're going to understand the power that they have to put the words out there to change the thinking of our youth. And it's going to be phenomenal. It will be.
Yeah. So, since you're talking about You were talking about morals, principles, values. What was the biggest challenges for you in making deliberate changes regarding your values?
I don't think that it had a lot to. I don't think that I had a lot to change when I came in, because I was a blank slate. You know, it was like anything was possible with me when I was 22 years old. I think that the morals and principles came to me when I experienced those brothers in the Nation of Islam. They gave me a social structure to operate from. They gave me a mental perspective to see the world from. And they gave me rules that allowed me to live a life free from being seen as somebody that you shouldn't respect. So when I came in, I didn't really have a strong moral. I mean, I had some things that my parents taught me. I wasn't I wasn't a savage,
Right.
when I came in, but I didn't have set rules that kept me walking a straight line, because they were never established. I didn't have a man that said, listen, this is what you do, this is what you do. And when my father passed away, I was in my second year of high school, and him and my mother weren't living together. So I didn't have a man to tell me any of these things. So my framework for that just didn't exist on a strong level until I got to the penitentiary.
Okay. And so while you were incarcerated and you were working on yourself, talk about that process. What would you say was the first thing, if you can remember, like the first thing that you said, you know what, this has to change about me? Do you remember what that was, and how did you go about implementing it?
I distinctly remember I was in Sing Sing Correctional Facility, and I went to call my family, and I called my family, and my cousin got on the phone. He's not usually at the house. And he said, Ernest, I need to tell you something, man. He said, what? He said, Carlton was killed. Carlton was my young and only brother. And I never forget it. I was in Sing Sing Correctional Facility in A Block, on the phones, on the flats. And as soon as he told me that, I dropped to my knees and I started crying, like in the telephone booth. And I didn't care if anybody saw me or heard me. But that broke me. And I got out the phone booth, and then I went over to the gym and I sat down there. And the first thing that I thought, my brother was a big drug dealer in Harlem. He was younger than me, and that's when cracks just came out, and he was doing this thing, and I knew the guys that did it, and my first reaction was, you know, when I get out, I'm gonna kill these dudes, you know, and the second after I thought that, I was like, yo, you inside for killing somebody else. I said, now you know how that family felt. And right there, I was like, I can't do anything to these guys, because if I did something to them, then that would mean that it was okay for somebody to do something to me. And I didn't want that. So that really changed my thinking about revenge, what it feels like for you to take somebody's family away from them. And I realized at that time, I said, I never want to be like that. And I understood that I had to do something about that. And coincidentally, it just so happened that that same week I had to enroll in the Alternative to Violence Project, AVP.
Yeah.
And when I went there, you know, I was still kind of broken, and, you know, we did our concentric circles, and I told the participants and the facilitators about the demise of my brother. and I cried there too. And I remember hardened criminals just coming by and hugging me and telling me that it's going to be all right. And it was there that, you know, my whole perspective changed about what I had done. And from there, I was a participant at that time, and then I became I took the second level, and I became a trainer, and I eventually became the chairman of the Alternative to Violence Project at Sing Sing Correctional Facility, and volunteered like 10,000 hours to that program. And that piece of my life was the impetus of me learning how to control my emotions, learning how to control myself, learning that, you know, the first thing you do is not violence. You don't have to violently react to anything. You know, you have the power to de-escalate a potentially violent situation or the way you may feel.
So it sounds like with that experience and in that moment, you made a conscious decision to no longer live your life based off your feelings, but based off of a principle. And that principle was, I'm not going to cause harm to anyone. And you stuck to it because your feeling, I could imagine, because I have a little brother. And I know just a few years ago, if my little brother was killed, I know what my reaction would have been. It would have been based off of my feeling of the hurt, the pain that I'm gonna go and kill this person that did that. But you made a conscious decision to not live your life based off of feelings, but based off of principles and values.
Right.
And I understand the importance of that. Can we briefly speak about the importance of living life based off of values rather than feelings, so that those, our listeners who may not understand the importance, so that they can truly get it?
Well, I guess one of the most recent ways of explaining this was, just like I said, when I was running for city council, and the incumbent put all of my my picture, my case, everything out there. I think that most people would have got upset with her, but I felt sorry for her, and that's the way I look at things now. You know, we're gonna be attacked. You know, no matter, for as long as I live, somebody's gonna attack me for something I did 40, it would probably be 50, maybe 60 years ago, and I gotta be able to deal with that. And the way that I deal with that is the way I think about it now. I'm like, wow, you want to keep me stuck. I'm not going to do that. So it's just, everything is just a matter of perspective. If that's answering your question, I don't. Everything is a matter of perspective. It's the way you see things, and it's the wall that you build to protect yourself against attacks that people are going to have on you. Because I think that one of the most important things to let people know that have taken this journey, you're going to have to carry this cross for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have to deal with it. And if somebody comes and throws it in your face, you're going to have to handle that. Mm-hmm. And it's just a matter of how we program ourselves to handle things. Like if somebody said, oh, well, Ernest Henry, he committed a murder. Yeah, you're right. But that was 40 years ago. I'm not that person anymore. Mm-hmm. So that's my way of thinking about it. But if somebody hasn't settle that in themselves, they will get upset and take it as a personal affront.
Right.
But I've come to realize it's no way in the world. It's not even sensible for me to take the truth as a personal attack. The truth is the truth. You know, it might come in bad time. It may come for the wrong reason, but nevertheless, the truth is still the truth. And with my teachings, you got to respect the truth. What I believe, you got to respect the truth. It's something that you have to respect. And if you respect the truth, then you're going to be all right.
Michael Love has a question that he wanted to ask. And he says, as you seek to help other people change, what is a recurring problem that you see in helping formerly incarcerated people?
The disbelief that they can change, that's number one. The fact that change requires work. Those are the two things. Now, I work in an organization called Project Build, and what we do is we assist people coming from the county court system. The majority of our clients are young, in their 20s, 30s, and what I realize is that it's sad to say that this particular population, the majority of them, they don't want to do anything. They don't want to change. They don't see the need to change. And when we introduce them to possible avenues of change that require work, then that makes them less interested in change. And that's sad. It's nothing that I could do about that. And I tell my coworkers all the time, listen, 50% is us, the other 50% is them. We make 100%. But if they don't meet us halfway, we really can't help them. You can't help somebody that doesn't want help, that want to stay stagnated. And it's sad. It's sad that we have young men and women who prefer to stay in a state of stagnation.
It's sad because when I hear you say that they don't think that they can change, it's true that a lot of people don't think they can change. There was a point in time when I believed that about myself. How can we assist them with understanding or trying to get them to the point of understanding that, like, no, you can change. You have to change the way that you're thinking, but you can change. What do you think we can do?
We're doing it right now. You got a podcast. I'm running for city council. As long as the people who understand that change is possible are doing things and really setting themselves up to be example, then we allow those people that think that they can't change, we provide undisputed evidence that it is possible for them to change.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Because
we become those examples.
Here it is, over 20 years ago, you were incarcerated for murder.
40 years ago.
Over 40 years ago,
yeah,
for murder. And now you're the first ward.
Yep.
In Poughkeepsie.
Yep.
So for anyone who thinks that you cannot change or you can't do it or you have to remain a criminal, the proof is in the pudding.
Right. But it requires courage, though. You got to have courage. You got to understand that when you get out there, you're going to be put on the cross and you're going to be whipped.
Yeah.
You know, and you got to be prepared for that. One of the things that one of the things that a lot of my supporters, they said, Ernest, what are you going to do about, your criminal history? And I said, I gotta own it. It's the only thing I said. I gotta own it. And
you did.
And I did.
And you won.
Yeah. But I think that, we need people to step up, man. We need examples. We need examples, particularly for these young brothers who are dibbling and dabbling in crime. We need to be examples so that they could know that you got the drug dealer on the street because he getting ready to go back to prison, but you got other people who are doing things and they are contributing back to their community. which one do you want to be? But if we only leave them one option, then we leave them with nothing to look forward to. So by every time one of us steps up and we step out into the limelight and say, I was there, but I'm no longer that person, then we provide another opportunity for these people. And that's what we need to do. And all the time.
All the time. And we may not be making as much money as the drug dealers, but please believe we're making money. Yeah. That's the other thing, too. Like, I talk to some of the young guys, and they're like, yo, man, I want to get that money. And I'm like, yo, that's cool, bro, but I'm making money. If not, I'm actually making more money now than when I was selling drugs. You know what I'm saying? And they just, sometimes they don't know that. They don't see it. Yeah. But trust and believe, like, you got the huge, big drug dealers who's making millions and millions of dollars. Yeah. But the average drug dealer is not making that amount of money. The average drug dealer, especially when they're starting off, they're actually making minimum wage, if not less than minimum wage. And we're making pretty decent money. You know what I mean?
But, you know, the other thing is that because we live in a capitalistic society, I know that money and wealth and the appearance of wealth is very important. But we can't get caught up into that.
Right.
Once we get caught up in the money, then our lines of principles and morals become blurred.
Right.
Because it's difficult to make money in the legitimate world. And it's easier to do it in the drug world, but there's more consequences. But we can't get caught up in the money. Nobody needs a big house and you only got you and your dog.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You don't need a mansion and it's just you and the goldfish, you know? And you don't need 100 pair of sneakers when you only got 2 feet. So, you know, we gotta understand that happiness is not about money. Happiness is about how you feel about yourself and what you're giving to the world. And that's another way of thinking. You know, I don't think about my house is 900 and something square feet, and I smile every day because it's mine, and nobody could throw me out, and I don't need a whole lot of stuff because it's just me and my girlfriend. So we can't get caught up on the money part.
All right.
When we do that, it's a problem. We got to get caught up on what's gonna make us happy and what's gonna be the most important thing. You know what the most important thing to me is? And this is crazy. The most important thing to me is it's not about money. It's about when Ernest Henry is laid to rest, that there's a big procession of people out there saying, yeah, I knew him and I respect him because he was somebody that I respected. I want them to show up.
That good name.
That's what I want. I don't want a whole lot of wealth. I want, when I lay down, that my family could see all of the people who respected me and loved me come together so that they could say goodbye to a good man. That's what's important to me. Not money, not a Rolls Royce. I don't care about none of that. I care about really going out like that. Because that would say that no matter what I did 40, 50, 60 years ago, all of that was cleansed by all the other things that I did after that. That's what I want.
The redemption.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Thank you, Mr. Henry, for joining Taste of Transformation.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Before we leave, is there you got any projects going on? Anything that you want to talk about with the audience?
Yeah, I took a 9-month hiatus from a project that I was really working on. It's called Grace Academy. And Grace Academy is a 3 to 6 man reentry residential that is going to be planted in Poughkeepsie, New York. It's going to be specifically a reentry residential for people who are men who are coming from prison, who are willing and ready to become agents of change in their community. And in the community that I want to have this in is Poughkeepsie. And what I mean by agents of change, I'm going to take these 3 men, these 6 men, I'm going to make sure they get jobs. I'm going to make sure they get the therapeutic training and assistance that they need. And I'm also going to make sure that they integrate themselves into the community and help the people in the community, because I think that that is the thing that needs to happen. We need to go back to our community and give back to our community. That's active redemption. And that's what I'm about. I'm about active redemption. You could say you redeemed yourself all you want, but if it's not in your works, it's not really happening as far as I'm concerned. So I'm going to establish Grace Academy, and now that the election is over and everything is settled, I'm going to go back into establishing that. I've already gotten $10,000 for that. What I'm looking for is a house that Hudson Valley Reentry Network can have so that we could bring this to fruition. That's what I'm working on.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ernest Henry, the First Ward Common Council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. And come back to us next week. And remember, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. You can change. You will change.
Peace.